Welcome to LibreQuest. My name is Matt, and this is episode 44. I'm going to be talking with Josh, a system administrator, content creator, and Linux user from Techie on YouTube. How's it going, Josh?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. So I know you cover a lot of system security in many of your videos and your interviews, and I was wanting to get your take on some of the recent hacks that we've seen and just get your thoughts on just what you make of these hacks that we've been seeing lately.
Well, it's to me it almost looks like countries attacking, our great United States, you know what I'm saying? It's it almost looks like cyber warfare in my opinion. And that's really because I work for the DoD. I've actually worked for the DoD in as a subcontractor for different companies, and I see some of the things, firsthand. Just I can't some things I can't speak about, but I have seen, certain things tied to countries, and you hear it in the news as well.
Yeah.
With there being talks about, this cyber group that's behind that pipeline attack is has ties to Russia, I think they're gathering more and more information about the group. But at the end of the day, I think some nation states are actually going after our country, especially at this vulnerable state during the pandemic, like recovering from the pandemic, as well as um, the way um, the economy. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, like, what I mean, in your opinion, are these kind of attacks like on this scale that we've seen, like the pipeline, this one that you mentioned? What do you think can be done to prevent this kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Intrusion, I guess.
Yeah. So in my opinion, I think we need more people in the cybersecurity realm. That's why a lot of jobs are opening up or coming up for cybersecurity in order to prevent these types of attacks. There are, it's currently uh, they currently need a whole bunch of people in the cybersecurity field. I can't think of the amount. I've looked at articles. I've read multiple articles on the issue, but they're lacking the amount of people in this actual field to um, test networks, test systems, and all that, and incorporating security within the process of actually building applications and pushing out applications. It should be throughout the whole process of actually managing data, pushing out data, sharing data. Security should be incorporated throughout the whole process, which at some level is not that major of a focus in, especially in certain areas. When you look at like state level, it's not at the forefront as far as security or cybersecurity. So I believe that more people that the more and more people that get into the cybersecurity field, this will assist with deterring these type of attacks in the future.
Do you think that there's anything that needs to be changed as far as mitigation and protocols that are being used? I mean, it would seem to me like a lot of these infrastructures would, or at least anything major like that, would have some sort of protocols. I remember, watching the movie War Games, and this was in the '80s, and they had single authentication and or single factor
hmm
authentication, and it made me think, what are the protocols out of date?
Yeah, and this is something that I've seen throughout the government, just working in different areas of government. As far as just a subcontractor, I'm not saying I'm some big wig or something, but as working as a contractor and seeing the technology, a lot of times the government or government entities like DoD, they're somewhat behind on a lot of the technology. They move at a slower pace. Uh, for instance, they just recently got off of Windows 7. And the only reason I know that because I was on a major contract where they were trying to upgrade all the systems to Windows 10. And that's what they typically use. The government or DoD, they typically use Windows software, and so they are always behind for some strange reason. But I mean, and I believe it has more to do with them just trying to, because they have a lot of custom applications built and things like that that only work on certain versions of Windows that they still have to support, and try to move that to the newer version of Windows or whatever. And so it's more difficult when they have a lot of customized applications and stuff like that to just say, okay, we're going to drop Windows 7 and move to Windows 10. They typically always wait till the last minute, and this was done like right before they ended support of Windows 7. So
Yeah.
they waited till that, to the last minute really to finally update to Windows 10. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I've heard a lot about banks and financial institutions that still use OS2 base systems, and
Hmm.
it just kind of it's kind of amazing. It's like, wow, that seems really dangerous, but
Yeah.
I don't. I kind of wonder if it has something to do with, at least as far as the United States, if it has something to do with just supporting an American company as far as what operating system is being used. I don't know. It may not have. That's just my first thought when I hear that a lot of the infrastructure depends on the Windows products.
Hmm. Yeah, that's 100% true. A lot. But one thing I'm seeing nowadays is a lot of companies, uh, you know, government or independent businesses or whatever, they're starting to move over to the cloud a whole lot more, which I think, I mean, it has its pros and cons too, but um it it should be a little bit more safer as long as they're using a proper security, putting a proper security in place in order to mitigate certain things, but they are going a lot more to the cloud that I'm starting to see.
When
So.
you brought up cloud, it actually that's kind of what my next question is, because I know the majority of the internet, majority of supercomputers, they are dependent on a Linux kernel and a Linux system. And so I wanted to get your opinion on the security of Linux versus other operating systems, and if you think it's a more secure operating system than other operating systems.
I believe it is a more secure system, and that's only because a lot of the hackers and a lot of these organizations or bad organizations out there, they're typically trying to go after companies, and most companies, as far as the way they manage all their computers and servers and all that stuff, they typically use Windows operating systems. So they tend to go after those operating systems. And so, and I know you probably heard this, multiple times. The only reason, Linux is considered more secure is because they're actually not going after that operating system as much as other operating systems, like Windows, for instance. Um, but um, it is a little bit more secure because you have a lot more control, uh, in my opinion. You're dependent on you know, some proprietary software that's created that you can't see the code behind it. Because you know this, I'm sure you know this, but Windows, that kernel for Windows is closed source. You know what I'm saying? They
Right.
control it. And so with Linux, you have a lot more eyes looking out for issues within the kernel, as well as, other applications and all that stuff that are, supported on a Linux operating system. You have a lot more eyes able to see flaws in code, and those issues can get resolved at a faster pace because you're working with um, millions of people across the world, that are looking at this code versus just some paid employees for Microsoft that are maintaining this code. for Microsoft. So small versus, a large amount of people that's actually managing the operating system, so to speak, and making improvements and fixing issues that come up. So,
Yeah, I remember there was a report about how many bugs different operating systems had, and the Linux, kind of under the umbrella of the term Linux or the name Linux, had the most bug fixes, and they said they were the least secure. But I was like, I would rather see more bug fixes than less, because I
mhm,
know over the last, I don't know, 5 or so years, there's been Vault 7, and there's also been, like, every once in a while you'll hear things about escalation to root privileges by some hacky
mhm,
way and all this stuff.
yeah,
And, you know, it just, to me, it made me, it's like, it kind of got me into a mindset of, just how secure is it? Of course, I think the majority of those require physical access to the hardware. So
mhm,
that's a little different than the amount of remote exploits that you see on other operating systems. But
yeah.
I kind of want to switch gears a little bit, because everyone has like a Linux backstory, and I'm kind of wondering what your introduction to Linux was.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. So, I started my first job as a systems administrator for a small company in Las Vegas, Nevada. And at this small company, they had a few Windows systems, a few Windows servers, and they also had a whole bunch of Linux systems. And the reason I brought up the company was small, the reason they used a lot of Linux is because, the financial issue.
Right. Yeah.
You could set up a Yeah, you could set up a Linux servers to manage pretty much everything. So manage your web server, all the great and cool features that you can do on Linux was being used at this company. They even had their firewall was managed using UFW. You know what I'm saying, or IP tables.
Nice. Yeah.
So
Yeah, IPtables is wonderful, by the way. But
yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, um, I had no clue what this was. They brought me on because I had the Windows Server background. Like as far as school goes, I went through school and I went through a networking course, but we did do a lot of systems hands-on training. So I had some knowledge on managing Windows servers, mainly Windows 2003, and that kind of shows my age, but
no, that's cool.
that's where, yeah, that's where I started. So, and there was another systems administrator there, and he was the one that actually set up and configure all of these Linux servers on the network to manage a lot of the stuff. And he basically was like, "Yeah, yes, this is Linux. You never heard of it before?" I was like, "Nah, never heard of it, man." And he just started teaching me every single day, on using Linux and managing Linux. And so it was great to actually get some understanding of how the servers work before actually playing around with the desktop. And I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. You just don't have the GUI. All you have is that command line,
Right.
which is kind of intimidating to new users. And
But that is
so
that's a
I had to
pretty
get in.
yeah, that's a pretty strong start though when it comes to Linux,
Yeah.
because it gives you a lot more reference for, like you said, how the system works.
Exactly, exactly. And so just by him teaching me that, that's what got me interested into it. It was super cool once I started playing around with the desktops. I can't remember what version of Ubuntu it was, 12 or something. I can't remember. But once I seen those spinning desktops,
Oh yeah. Nice.
I
Yeah.
was hooked, man. I got the Linux bug, and I've been playing around with Linux ever since. You know what I'm saying? And it was, yeah, it was great to actually, um, I don't know, see that. And then I taught him that was the thing. He didn't know much about Windows servers, the other administrator, and so I was able to teach him a lot about Windows servers.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
while he, reciprocated and taught me about Linux and everything. So
So what year would this have been? Because I'm curious about what version of Ubuntu. I'm trying to think of what it might have been.
Yes, this was 2008.
2008. Okay.
2008.
So what? Yeah. So like the barrel compiz days, and it would have been like a 80. I think that did they delay 804? I don't know, but it would have been like 804 and 810.
Hmm.
Probably one of
Yeah,
those. Yeah.
yeah. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
so solid, like those releases, and then I don't know what they started doing with the GNOME desktop, but
Oh yeah.
it was so nice. But okay, so my next question kind of is related to that one because I've been trying to ask as many people as I can because you've got like experience of around 2008, and I don't know if you remember, but like there were a lot of at least commercially, and there was a lot of excitement about it in the Linux world of Dell selling Ubuntu desktop machines, and I think like Hulu had their player on the desktop, Amazon MP3 had their stuff for the Linux desktop, and
Hmm.
they were all kind of targeting Ubuntu, but there was just a lot of stuff going on, a lot of exciting news going on at that stage, and of course, you know the cool effects and all that stuff. But my question is, what is your opinion of the Linux desktop experience today?
Um, in my opinion, I mean, you had a lot of options. Well, it wasn't as many options, but you had a lot of options then back then. But you definitely have a whole lot of options nowadays, and the experience is a whole lot user friendly. You can put a Linux operating system in front of pretty much anybody, and they can figure out how to actually use the system. They may not be able to do some systems administration type stuff,
Right.
but they can pick it up and run. Because at the end of the day, most people, no matter what operating system they're using, a lot of times, majority of the people, they all they need to know how to do is use the browser at the end of the day.
Yep.
Because
Absolutely.
yeah, and phones, everybody has a phone, so some people prefer phones and tablets over a full blown laptop. You know what I'm saying? They'll prefer that. But and so when they do get on a computer, I mean, they pretty much just trying to do the exact same thing they do on their phone, which is get on the internet, get on YouTube, get on, whatever, and then all these cloud technologies tie into it as well. And this is a benefit, in my opinion, to get people to actually switch if they want to switch, because on Windows, a lot of people use those Chromebooks, as
Right.
well
Yeah.
as the Windows systems. They have that whole cloud setup, and you can, especially if they're using Google, you can, manage all your documents from Google Drive or Google Docs, Google Drive. You can switch between, the different operating systems, transfer your files and all that stuff. Whatever you need to do, um, on a Linux operating system is all done pretty much on the web and in the cloud. So, as long as they got access to a internet browser, that'll make people happy. You know, as
Yeah, that's
long as
true.
they could.
You know, you brought up Chromebooks. I mean, what are your what are your thoughts on Chromebooks, just in general?
I really don't. Yeah, I really, to be honest, I don't really have an opinion on them because I've
Okay.
never used them. I've
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I've touched the I've played around with it like at Best Buy, browsing through Best Buy, but I never
Okay.
actually just looked into them.
Yeah, I know. Like most Linux users, when they say Linux, they're referring to GNU slash
Hmm.
Linux. You know, like free
Hmm.
software, not this locked down kind of a system. And
Yeah,
yeah, so I mean,
exactly.
I don't really consider. I mean, I know it's Linux. I know what it's built on, but it's so proprietary. You know, I don't
Hmm.
consider it. I mean, it's not the same Linux that I don't think we're talking about the same Linux. But
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
aside from Linux, I wanted to ask you if you have any like tech hobbies that don't necessarily relate, maybe to the operating system. You know, something like hardware or anything like that that you're kind of into.
Um, not not really. Other than maybe uh one thing that's well, that's that's on the operating system. That's just the application. But I mean, I guess I could talk about it. But
Yeah,
this
go.
whole YouTube experience, that has forced me out of a bubble of just using the operating system for what I need it for. It just open up, using other applications that I typically wouldn't use, like for instance, editing software. Uh, because I'm not one of these creative type of people. It's very hard for me to design stuff. That's why I kind of failed at web design. At one point I was trying to create a business where I was going to do some web design and try to help companies at some point by building out a website for them. But I'm not that great at design and coming up with colors, and so that was something that's cool. And that's kind of like I guess graphics design, that type of I guess technology, you could say. uh, that's just some another hobby, I guess, that I've started picking up just from having a YouTube channel, because you got to kind of, you know, design the thumbnails, and just design different graphics, for whatever you're trying to do on your YouTube channel. So,
So what kind of you said like design stuff, like what software do you use for your production?
GIMP for one. That's the one of the best uh,
Yeah, I agree.
graphics design softwares that's free and open source, and it's right there with Photoshop, in my opinion. Especially once you add all the scripts to it, script foo,
Yeah.
and yeah, you're able to do pretty much. You could pretty much do the exact same thing you would do in Photoshop.
But smoke
Um,
effects, I've noticed there's a little lacking on smoke effects. If I did any
yeah,
scripting, I would work on it, but
yeah, yeah.
I don't know how they even do this.
Yeah, you're right. That's something that's baffled me as well, just seeing it on other people's graphics. But yeah, and then Caden Live. I've never played around with video editing, and that's my favorite video editing software, which is Caden Live. I know a lot of people say it's kind of buggy, or you know uh they 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 have bad experiences with it where it crashes on them, but I've never had an issue with it, and so it works perfect for me. And I've been editing for a couple years and getting better and better at it. That's I don't know, it's like my go-to video editing software. So, and then also, let me bring this up, since you brought up hardware.
Yeah.
Now I do like to um revamp computers. So, like family members that have older computers that may have Windows running on them bad or something like that. Uh, I go down and switch them to Linux. You know what I'm saying, and
Nice.
revamp the computer,
Yeah.
and they see the difference. With that older hardware. Just running with, just put Linux Mint on it or something not too heavy on resources, and they're like super ecstatic and happy because they can just get to the internet, which is what most people want to do,
Yeah.
and it's not that slow opening up. Just you don't have all these startup programs and all that stuff that's bogging down your system. And so it's simple. And then also, I another hobby is, I like creating servers and just playing around with servers.
Do you mean like
um
cloud servers or like actual physical servers?
Cloud servers and
Okay.
physical.
Oh,
Physical as well, because
yeah.
I just recently purchased the Dell 140. And I know it's kind of overkill for something at the house, because I mean, you could pretty much um, spin up a small, instance on Google Cloud or something
Is that
for like $5 a month or $4 a month or so,
but
and
the
just play
Dell
around with it.
140 is
Mhm.
that what kind of server is it, like a storage server or what kind of server
Yeah,
is it? I'm not familiar with it.
I'm it's just one of their servers, and you can put whatever you want on it. You can
Okay.
get them to put Windows on it, but they, obviously charge you for the license fee. But You can also just have no operating system on it, which is what I did. And I had them build it. I just went on and built it because I've been wanting a server for a long time. What I typically used to do was just take a old computer
Mm.
and just rebuild it if I need some more RAM in it, add some RAM to it or whatever, and just and build my own little server here at the house just to have some type of hardware to kind of lab on or just play around with um and and I guess get better with my skills on just playing around with a Linux server. And I know and this all started a long time ago. This started like 2009 or so. I've had a server running at my house since 2009. Not the same one, but I'm just saying if one dies, then I'll replace it. You know what I'm saying? I just for either like I have a whole bunch of music, movies, just like a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah.
store a lot of that stuff on there. It's kind of like a storage server but and the reason I say that because uh over the years, virtualization has gotten a whole lot better and accessible for, you know, regular people. You can install VirtualBox on anything, and as long as your processor, supports virtualization, then you can set up as many servers as you want, using
Yeah, that's true.
VirtualBox. So the reason I brought it up, that's something I've been doing for a while because it's kind of like a habit or something or something that I'm I don't know passionate about. Is just having my own server at the house. It's just something
That's awesome.
cool to have, you know what
Yeah,
I'm
no,
saying?
that is
And
cool.
so I finally spent some money and got that Dell server built. And just I use I don't know if have you ever used Proxmox?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay, yeah, well check that out. Proxmox is a virtual it's a hypervisor
Okay.
basically, and you run everything from the web. You connect to it from the web once you have it installed, and it runs headless. And I just connect to it, and I can create all my virtual machines from a web browser and run them all, from my server in the other room, right on my laptop. And I'm not having to use the resources on my laptop. I'm using the resources on my server.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's
So
that's one of my hobbies as well.
I got a couple questions for you.
Go ahead.
What distro do you have running on your server, and also do you have it like any ports that are open to the internet, like internet facing ports?
Yeah, yeah, I actually do. Well, all right. Well, first off, let me start off. The operating system that's running on is Proxmox.
Oh,
So
okay.
Proxmox is its own
Oh, I
operating
didn't I
system. I
didn't
think
realize that. Okay.
it's cool. I think it's based on it's either BSD. I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's its own distribution, and
Nice.
it's
Okay.
basically a hypervisor, kind of like what's the it's a Windows version, ESXi or something like that.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
anyway, it's a
told. Yeah, you're
hypervisor.
you're. I don't know. I'm not really into the server stuff. So
Yeah.
this is all cool. Yeah.
So yeah, and I have about uh 6 or 7 virtual machines running on it right now currently. You can also run containers on it, which is super cool. Like I have some networking stuff. Like I've always been interested in networking, so I currently have what is it called? um and I feel bad I don't no I can't think of it right now, but
No, it's okay, man.
um I got a Nextcloud on there. I got PF
Okay.
Sense, um, and uh, got a Minecraft server set up for the kids.
Cool.
Plex, so I run Plex, and that's one of the ports that's open to the internet.
Okay.
Is a Plex. I have a Plex server that I share with, some family members. Not to where I can get in trouble, but I have a Plex server with, some stuff on it. But and a couple other just testing virtual machines. Like I have Kali running on it, Parrot running on one virtual machine, and just pretty much what I use and what I use to record my videos. A lot of times, I like to use different operating systems just to show what it looks like on other operating systems, so I'm not boring everybody with just strictly Orch stuff, because I'm an Orch user. I love Orch, and I know people gonna say you're Orch, by the way.
No, that's awesome.
So on my main laptop I do have Orch, but it's cool for people to see something different on my YouTube videos versus just using Orch all the time for every single thing. I'll have I have multiple, virtual machines set up just for recording videos. So, and
So,
I only spin them up for that purpose.
so do you do like what kind of configurations do you use for IP tables when it comes to your server? Do you like block anything going or coming in, or like do you have any special configurations you use?
Nah, not really. I just basically block everything except the ports I don't need.
Okay.
No special. And to be honest, and I'll be totally honest with this. I'm not that great with understanding IP tables. I get the 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 basics of it, but I'm not no IP tables guru. So don't let me, lie to you or anything. But I use UFW, and that's what a lot of people use. UFW, you know what UFW is, right?
I do not. I don't know.
Okay, UFW is actually an application that sits on top of IP tables, and it's a
Hmm.
simpler way to control the firewall. It's called, and it's the name that UFW stands for, uncomplicated firewall. And so it
Nice.
basically simplifies IP tables for you. So you can just use basic commands like sudo UFW allow all, and then they have applications set up in there, like application aliases set up in there, like Apache, and it'll open up all the ports for Apache through IP tables. It's basically
Yeah.
running those
Yeah.
commands for you in IP tables, because you can run uh, and that's why I say I don't know IP tables, but you can run the IP tables commands and see those rules that are put in place using UFW. You know what I'm saying? So it
Yeah.
just kind of sits on top of it and make those changes for you in IP tables.
Well,
So
I'll be honest. I've only had one. I guess you could call it a server, but it was just a mini PC, and then it was just
mhm.
it was running like nine, I think, Urban Terror video game like
Okay.
like servers, and I just used IP tables. I just blocked everything. So like in order to access it, I had to go
hmm
through the internet IP in order to access it from any machine in the house.
Okay.
So I just blocked
Yeah.
everything out. I'm like, I don't want this to be like the front door for anybody that's interested in poking around on the server. But
Yeah.
that's the only time I've really used. Yeah, I mean that's about it, honestly. If I have anything
hmm
that's like accessible from the internet.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, but one thing I was gonna say earlier, the one of the reasons um like I can't serve websites from my house. I'm not sure if you have that same issue, but if you have Cox Communications, they block port
Oh,
80 by default for all residential
okay.
uh customers.
That's not
You
very
have to
nice.
have a business. Yeah, you got to have a business account. So yeah, you can serve a website on a different port, but it's kind of inconvenient for people to actually type in a port or something. Uh, like I I have some websites set up where I use like port 8080. That's a
Yeah.
non-standard port, you know what I'm saying? And so you would have to know that to get to the website.
Yeah, there
So,
is there is a mail company. I can never remember the name of this company, but it's basically like you host your own email server at home. And
mhm.
the way they got around ISPs blocking mail servers on their services is it does a secure tunnel out to one of their servers, and then
Mhm.
it connects to their server and then connects back to you. So you're on a completely invisible port, but you're still technically hosting your own email. I don't know. That's
Okay,
yeah.
that's
So
cool.
yeah.
I'm gonna
So
have to look into that.
yeah, I mean, you could use maybe the same technology to get past it as well, but I don't know. Like I said,
Mhm.
I'm not really into the server stuff, honestly.
Okay.
But yeah, I did try. I tried. I tried hosting, just opening my local host because I was working on a project, and
Hmm.
I totally messed up the server. I don't remember exactly. Oh, I do. I I did something in PHP, and it instead of removing a specific directory, it wiped out the entire publicly accessible. Actually, the entire subdomain on the hosting.
Oh man.
So yeah, so I was hosting it on the local machine, and I just opened up the port, and I'm like, see if I could access it that way, and it was like super super slow. So I think there was some kind of as far as the provider level, they were doing something to hinder it from working properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess that's probably pretty common, unfortunately.
Hmm. Yeah, I went and looked it up one time just to see, and they basically were saying that a lot of spammers or people deliver malware from websites hosted at their house, which doesn't make sense. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just the excuse that they used in order
right.
to block those ports by default. So,
And it probably has far more to do with bandwidth and content control because they get notices probably from all kinds of companies out there trying to on the grounds of like intellectual property. That's my
oh
guess
yeah,
as to why they're probably blocking it, so they
yeah.
don't have to risk a lawsuit or whatever.
Hmm.
But I mean, I guess I can't blame them. So, well, is there any other topic you want to cover? Because I don't,
Oh, no.
I have run out of my questions that I plan to ask, and I really appreciate I appreciate you being on the podcast. Awesome.
Oh yeah, no problem, man. And um, I don't know. So, what operating system are you currently using right now? Which distro?
Yeah, I'm still using on this system. I'm still using Linux Lite, and the reason is because they typically make the new kernel versions available pretty quick.
Okay.
That's literally the only reason. But I have machines that run Mageia, and I don't know. I've got a Devuan system. I don't remember what this one's running. I don't know. I've got a bunch of them, but
Okay.
for this primary system, yeah, it's running that just for the They typically will make the kernel available pretty quick, a little faster
Okay.
than
Okay.
most. But
Yeah, I'm gonna
probably
have to
not as
check it
fast
out.
as. I don't know how Arch does. How is Arch as far as like new kernel version availability?
They tend to push things out very quick on Orch. So um you get kernel updates and that's the thing. They if you can mess up your system if you don't update regularly. Once you start using Orch, you have to do it pretty much every single day. Like sometimes the updates will that they'll come every single day. No, not sometimes. They do. They come every single day.
Do you just
So
script it?
it's yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
I just run it in the background. But yeah, they push out updates every single day, and um it's something that they do. They just do with this rolling release. It just pushes out stuff fairly quickly, especially kernel updates. You'll get those
yeah,
quick too.
yeah. I didn't
Yep.
really want the newest, kernel or whatever. I care about stable, but with Radeon
Hmm.
graphics, there's like all this news, this supported in the newest kernel. I'm like, and then I kept seeing these. This was like I don't know, few years ago. I kept seeing it consistently. New kernel available on Linux Lite. New kernel available. So I'm like, yeah, may as well
Hmm.
just make this machine a Linux Lite machine. Of course, I hate they actually lock down the. It's like a XFCE 4, I believe,
Hmm.
and they make it really difficult to use anything else. And so, like I just purge it off the system and install Plasma because I enjoy Plasma. I'm a Plasma guy.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. That's cool. Now, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Cybersecurity. So do you play around with any type of ethical hacking?
No, no, I
Any
don't.
type of tools like that? Okay,
No,
all
I
right.
mean I did. Oh gosh, I think the last time I tried like Wireshark and
Hmm.
I'll check if I'm having anything that makes me think there's something going on the network. I will check the TCP logs and that kind of stuff. But I think the last time that I really messed around with any of the hacking utilities was like in 2012. It's been a long time ago. And I didn't,
Okay.
I didn't use any specific like distro that was specifically tailored for that purpose. But I tried,
Hmm.
just some of the stuff and man in the middle testing and all that kind of stuff. I kind of play with
Okay.
around with it, but I'm just not really my thing, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. You kind of have to be into it because I've played around with it as well. I'm not no hacker or anything like that. I have touched some of the tools, kind of like what you did a couple years ago, just playing around with it and never went past that. You know what I'm saying? You got to have I guess, a passion for trying to, I guess, gain access to things, and it makes you want
Yeah.
to, learn a little bit, learn more. You know what I'm saying? And so I just don't have that passion for. I mean, and I have the passion for learning, but just not that the cybersecurity world
Yeah.
like that. You know?
Yeah, like one thing that like I'm a little bit cautious with things. I've got like if my phone
Mhm.
just decides it's going to connect to an open network, I'll turn Wi-Fi off. That freaks me out. I'm like,
Oh
why?
yeah,
Why would
I'm
they
the
make a
same way.
phone do that? Yeah, that's insanity. It's like,
Hmm.
why would you
Yeah.
automatically connect to an open network? That's crazy. But yeah, and I don't know. I listen to a lot of stuff about hacker conferences and that kind of stuff, so I'm aware of the
Mhm.
potential that's out there
Yeah.
for system vulnerabilities and that sort of stuff. But yeah, like you said, I'm it's not really I'm not passionate about that.
Hmm. I got you. I got you. Yeah. Well, that's all the questions I got for you, man.
Okay. Well,
It
awesome.
kind of turned into
No, it's
a
fine. Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
another interview. Yeah. Hey, and that's the thing. If you ever want to come on to my channel, I definitely don't mind you coming on. We could do a interview or something. We can
Yeah,
schedule something, and I can get you on, and we could talk Linux.
let's schedule it. Yeah, do I
So-
need a camera? I know you do. You always have a webcam like
Oh
interviews.
no, you fine. I've done interviews with people,
Okay.
that don't have their camera on, so it's fine.
Yeah, I'm
No
just not
requirement.
sure that the because I'm connecting like right now this system is connected with a flip phone that runs KaiOS. So
Okay,
I'm
okay.
not I'm not sure the bandwidth could handle outputting
Hmm.
video. Maybe 720 I would think, but
Yeah,
so
yeah,
maybe I could
but
do
it's
that.
fine. Yeah,
Okay.
it's no fine. It's fine like that. Yeah,
Yeah, thanks for
just
the invite.
voice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, it was fun. I guess we'll call it here. I probably should wrap it up. Getting close to what are we at? 45 minutes or so.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, I noticed that some of the places where I'm uploading episodes, they have a limit. You can't if it's over an hour. They say no, you can't do it. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm not sure what the what the thought process is on that, but anyway,
Hmm.
yeah, I appreciate it, and I absolutely accept the invitation to come on your podcast.
Cool. Sounds good. And it's great talking to you, man. I definitely appreciate it. And great questions and everything. That it got me to talking because I'm real passionate about Linux and just talking about IT in general. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, absolutely. It was
thank you.
fun. So maybe we can. Well, no, I'll be on your show. I was going to say maybe we could do it again, but I'll come on your show.
Yeah, definitely.
All
Yep.
right. Well, I'll talk to you later then.
All right. Peace.
Bye bye. If you enjoyed this episode, you can join me on Locals at LibreQuest.locals.com, where I'll be posting exclusive interviews, some of my music, and other things. And we can talk about whatever you want to talk about as well. For other ways to support me, you can visit LibreQuest.org. That's LibreQuest.org. And thank you for being a listener. Until next time, I'm Matt, and this is LibreQuest.